I'm Darian Alexis, and welcome to a 20-something survival guide, the place where you and me learn to survive and thrive in our 20s and beyond. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Something that I wanted to advise to students was that they take courses outside of their major if possible.
Oh my God,
I
yeah.
had a lot of electives I could do in my course load because I was more communications business realm. So I was able to take some like different science classes or different arts classes. And I think that made a really amazing college experience for me and help show me what I did like and what I didn't like. Were you able to do that in your college experience, or were your programs so strict that you didn't really have that wiggle room?
Both of our classes, and I think for our university as a whole, you were required to take a class in humanities, arts, technology, and science, I think.
Yes.
So that is definitely something we both did. And I think that this is really important. Sometimes when you're in them, you're like, this is a waste of time. It has nothing to do with the degree I'm getting. But it makes you a well-rounded person.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
I personally
Agreed.
love art. I love to travel, and I love to go to museums. So learning like an art class about art and history and stuff was so fun. I love it. And I got to take a couple anthropology classes. And while that is probably not very useful, it's so fun. Like, it's just random knowledge that is fun to know. I loved the show Bones growing up, if you've ever seen it.
Love
So
that
I
show.
got to,
okay.
I got to live my Temperance Brennan, little fantasy for a semester. It was
That's
so fun.
funny. No, I love that. I don't know. I took a handful of classes so before I went into my realm of physical therapy, and that's where I was going, I wanted to go into film, and I majored in film in high school because I was an international baccalaureate student. So the program's really weird, but I majored in film. And so that was kind of where my head was going, but I was able to take an intro to film class as an undergrad, which was incredible. And I watched a ton of old films. My favorite now because of that is Rear Window, which if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. It's incredible. But
I have not seen it. I'm gonna have to put it on my list.
Oh, you have to. It's so old.
It's Hitchcock, right?
Yes, and Grace Kelly's in it, I'm pretty sure, and it's just like it's chef's kiss. And I took an abortion and history class, which was just, for the time that I took it, made a lot of sense, and it was incredible to see just documents all the way into the 1800s, which was just like, you don't think those exist, but it was such a cool course. Especially, I love history. I'm just not a history person, if that makes sense. Like, I don't love learning about it, but I think parts of history are really interesting to me. So like, that was really fun to see, like, the political side of it, the social side of it. What else? Oh, I took a photography class. I think anything art-wise, it's just so
art
fun.
Classes are just fun and typically a pretty easy A.
Yeah.
I also took a technology class. It was required as one of my electives, and I hated it when I was taking it. It was horrible.
What technology class?
It was Intro to Computers.
That doesn't sound fun.
I hated it. It was horrible. It was so boring.
Were you just typing? What do you do?
It was like how to use Excel, how to use Word, how to use PowerPoint.
If you don't know those
funny
things
because I was going
need...
to recommend something like that. Like, I took an Excel class, and it has helped me so much in my career.
Exactly. It was horribly painful and boring, but these are skills you have to know going into the workforce in this century. Like, you have to know basics of using like Microsoft accounts. So
see, but I feel like
some of them are common knowledge
as I got.
Yeah. No, because Excel can do so much more than you think it can.
So complicated.
It is so,
I mean, I believe you.
Like, you can build formulas in there. You can build whole spreadsheets. You can build like, if this, then this, then this. Like, I've already lost some of my Excel knowledge that I learned from school. But that is my tip to anyone listening. If you can take classes that are going to further your career or just your hobbies or your interest, do it. My number one regret was not taking French in college, because now I'm like obsessed. Well, I've always been obsessed with like France, but I took Spanish. I thought it would help me more. But now I've been Duolingoing my way to Paris, which I went to Paris and I was able to speak to people, but I wish I did that in college. And I wish I took some of my electives more seriously than I did when I was in college. because they would have helped me more in the long run if I took them more serious than just kind of like faked my way through them.
Exactly. Excel was very, very helpful. And I also learned basic coding, which I obviously can't create a video game, but a little bit of basic coding I could totally like get through, which I think is also pretty crucial in these times where everything is technology. And also, if you can, take a language. I loved Spanish. I'm from SoCal. I'm 40 minutes from the border. So obviously Spanish is much more helpful to me than like German or French. But it's a fun class. And depending on where you live, it can come in handy. Also, if you want to travel, then you have like an excuse. I have to go test my Spanish. Gotta go to Spain, I guess.
Yeah, going into the field you're going into, I think Spanish will be so helpful because there's so many Spanish speakers. And if you have a second language, it just helps you that much more get any job, whether in business, whether in your healthcare, whether you're in, I don't know, art, history, like it's just going to help you go so much further. So I know a lot of schools require internships. Have you guys had internships that were outside of what your school required, and how did they help you? And if you haven't, how have you been able to utilize how have you been able to get internships in your current programs?
For physical therapy in general, I think it's such a people person field because you're a clinician that's working one-on-one with people all day long. And if you're not a people person or know that that's an environment that you want to work in for the rest of your life, then you're going to be doing all this school for nothing. So getting a job that pays and using that as internship hours, or just getting an internship in general, is so important. So for me, my summer going into my senior year of college, I worked 2 jobs simultaneously in the city. I was a aquatics technician. So I was a physical therapy aide in the water, which was incredible. And then I was also just doing regular like physical therapy aide work at a different company. So just putting yourself out there. I got both of those positions by going to Indeed and just applying to a ton of different places. An internship is such a broad umbrella term because you could be paid and use it as an internship hour, which is definitely ideal. Sometimes they won't offer to pay you and they're getting free labor out of it, but you're getting the experience. So that's all that matters, right? Putting yourself out there in all the platforms like LinkedIn, Indeed, Handshake, stuff like that. That's the way I was able to find those opportunities.
At my university, we both were. We were in combined BS, MS, and BS DPT programs. So I did have the opportunity to take some prosthetics orthotics classes at the undergrad level, which isn't common. But one of our major assignments as a sophomore is to go do a full day of clinical shadowing and write about it. Of course, as a sophomore and undergrad, you have no skills yet. You really can't do anything. I got to cut a piece of Velcro and hammer in a rivet in an orthosis, and
that's really cool.
I got to watch somebody use a blowtorch, which was pretty cool. But make sure that you're going, and even if you really can't intern and do anything, at least shadowing, so you can be like, yeah, this is actually something I want to do 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. Or you're like, in theory, this sounded cool, but I don't like it in practice. Make sure you're getting to shadow, even if you're not really interning. And it totally also opens up opportunities. I've shadowed at 2 different clinics, one in Arizona where my uncle is a patient, and then one in San Diego. And next summer, we have a 6-week required internship over the summer for my program. And we kind of get to pick wherever we want to go. So now I have 2 clinics where I have a rapport. I've been there before, and they are familiar with me. So it will be easier to kind of reconnect with them if I decide that's where I want to go, which I probably won't want to go back to San Diego. So that's obviously really nice. And we do start our official clinical internships the 2nd week of school in the fall. So I'm very excited about that. We have a 6-week internship in an actual clinic, and then we have a 6-week internship with our technicians. So we get to watch them and kind of observe and learn from them how they actually make prostheses, and orthoses. So that's very exciting.
That
I
is
totally forgot about shadowing. That
awesome.
was like a major thing I did too.
Yes.
Yeah, I think shadowing is huge in different healthcare fields, but I think you can also shadow if
Mm-hmm.
you're not in healthcare fields too. So if you guys have the opportunity to do that, I highly recommend that you do so. I have just 2 questions left for you guys, but I did want to see if there's anything that you think I missed about the college experience that the listeners need to know, and should think about before or throughout their college years.
I think like loneliness is a big one, just because like when you're a freshman, you're getting into the swing of things, and your freshman friends will not be either your long-term friends or your forever friends, or I don't know, even your long-term college friends. Like sometimes like stuff happens and you grow apart, or you figure out that that's not your person, and that could be a really hard thing to learn, but it definitely builds character. And you learn a lot about yourself through that process too. And so I think just keeping in mind that friends change, and
Mm-hmm.
your world is always going to change and nothing's ever set in stone.
Yeah, I think it is important to remember that with college, there are so many, I feel like personally, I've gone through so many seasons,
Mm-hmm.
and remembering
Yeah.
that a
New
season,
characters for every
exactly.
season.
You go through new seasons, new characters come in. Maybe in one season you're going to need more rest, and in another you're going to need to be more social. And remembering that you can make these decisions and change. You don't have to remain the constant status quo for 4 years.
Sometimes do things for the plot too. Like it just makes
Yeah,
your life a little bit
Always
more
do it for the
interesting.
plot.
10 years,
Are you
when you
kidding
look
me?
back at your college years, are you going to be like, oh, I'm so glad that I never went out?
No.
Yeah.
You're going to do fun things. Have fun. These are your
Literally.
like most exciting years of your life before you settle down and have a family and a real job.
And be an adult.
Yeah.
Yes,
You're like
seriously.
you're
Do
plenty
not
adult right
wish
now.
Yeah.
away your time. Do not wish
Yes.
away your college years. Will they
Exactly.
be the best years of your life? I'm not gonna define that for you. You
Probably
can
not.
always go up. However, like go out, experience things. Do not drink underage. I'm not promoting that on this podcast. But go out, go dancing, night out on the town, meet people,
Yes.
hug some strangers, like go out and live your
Go on
life
the date that you
because
didn't think that you wanted to go on.
literally
I,
like do
I need
things
a
for the
boyfriend out of
plot,
memory.
okay? That is
Yes.
what you look back and remember. Those are
He's
the
my
nights that
boyfriend now.
I remember. That is what me and my friends still talk about. And I graduated
Oh,
college like
totally.
5 years ago, and we're still talking about that one night we went out on the town, after class, and just had the best night ever. Have girl time, have boy time, like just go fall in love. Like do what you got to do, but don't just spend your whole college experience sitting there and studying. Yes, it is the most important because we are going to learn, we are going to graduate, we're going to get the degree and become professionals and be highly skilled. But don't forget all the little pieces that make college great too. Looking back, is there anything you wish you had done differently during your undergrad?
Dating wise, it's such a tricky thing because I have a
Gosh.
3.5 year relationship. So I think like there are different pros and cons to it.
For
Pro
sure.
is that we had
Mm-hmm.
like a great 3 years together, but there's like the flip side of like, did dating that person for so long like prevent you from meeting someone that could be that long life partner? I don't know. That's something that me and like a lot of my friends talk about a lot, is that, or like my friends who are in long-term relationships always have that in the back of their head sometimes.
On the flip side of that, I like was so anti-dating in college. I was like, no boys, distraction, don't date. And now I have a boyfriend, and this is so fun. So go on a date.
It is
Download,
fun.
Like, Hinge, go on a date. And
Hinge is so complicated though. Like I just got back into the dating scene, and like online dating is not for me. I've realized.
it's fun.
Yeah, it's like it's a fun game to play. Swipe, 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 swipe. But like I want to meet my like future husband in person. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
met my
You
boyfriend
met
on
your boyfriend
Hinge,
in
and
person,
that's
and he's in
okay.
your program.
That is a really good way to meet people.
Okay,
I
but
would
see,
say
like
don't
we're
shy
not.
away
I'm
from it.
scared.
Why? You shouldn't be scared.
Yeah, that's true. I
There's no
agree.
need to be scared. Like,
I'm scared.
don't be scared. Like, fall in love, fall out of love, get your heart broken because getting your heart broken, every time you go through heartbreak, it just makes you one step closer to your forever person. And if you do break up
That's
with
true.
someone, then that really means you weren't meant to be together. And you could get back together down the line, but if you don't, then it means it wasn't meant to be. And
Yeah.
I'm here for you. I was in a long relationship in college too, and for half my college experience I was and half I wasn't. And so I think I got to experience a lot of that. And me and my one friend did one of our episodes on dating in college because it is like shits and giggles. Okay. Like it's crazy dating in college, but sometimes you have to experience that and just know you're not alone because we all went through it or we're going through it. So whether you are dating someone, whether you just got out of a long relationship, like it's okay. And you change so much from your first year to your second year to your third year. I'm 5 years out. I am not the person I was even when I graduated. So much change is going to come and go. People are going to come and go, but just know like you have your support system, you have yourself, you have your values, all the experience you learn from college, and just take that with you.
Yeah, it's so weird. We started dating and I was 17 and we broke up and I'm 20 turning 22 soon. Like that's just like
It's a
that
long
we're
time.
very different people than we were. Yeah.
The other thing I would definitely say, kind of away from dating, is don't bring yourself out your freshman
Oh
year.
my God,
I
yeah.
took myself so freaking seriously in like intro bio and intro chemistry, and I had like no social life my first year, and I can't go out, I can't do this, I can't do this, I have to study, I have to study, I have to study. And if you're going to be in school for 4 years, plus for me, 6 years or 7 years, you can't be burning yourself out and overworking yourself your first semester of college. So definitely pace yourself and make sure you are practicing self-care and rest and having a social life.
Yeah, and I would also say
Second
too,
that.
just take advantage to all of the resources available to you on campus. If you're struggling, almost all campuses have like psychologists you can go to or therapists, I mean, that you can go to. There's tutoring services. A lot of times it's free. Go to tutoring.
I utilized both our CAPS, our psychological services, as well as our free tutoring center. Both of them are worked into tuition, and I never felt ashamed about going to either. They're so helpful. So set yourself up for success.
100%.
Love it. Okay, and our last question today. Dun, 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 dun. What is your number one piece of advice?
There are a lot of different social aspects when you come into college, and you're going to be living with people probably for the first time. I've never shared a bedroom in my life before college, and lots of new social experiences. I definitely would say learn how to communicate in a non-angry and non-confrontational way, because if I like say I had an issue with Felicia and Felicia had no idea that this was an issue and she kept doing it, I'm just going to start to resent Felicia, but Felicia doesn't know she's doing anything wrong. So obviously we have no issues, but if I did, then I would just tell her and then we could work the problem out instead of me being resentful and angry and upset and her having no idea that there's an issue. So
I totally agree with that.
definitely communicate with somebody, because when you communicate, you are able to mitigate bad emotions and feelings and work towards love and friendship and happiness.
Yeah, I had a roommate who I would try to explain that was hurtful or like what she said was not okay. And then she would say like, oh, build a backbone. Like it wasn't that mean. And I have a backbone and I'm not someone who takes things very seriously. And so if I'm saying to you like, that was not nice, and for you to be like, oh, it wasn't a big deal. No, let's not do that. Let's self-reflect and realize that wasn't a nice thing to say. No matter what, like even if I said something that wasn't nice and you think it was mean and I don't think it was mean, it shouldn't matter. Just always apologize. It makes you look better in the long run. And then I think that's like a major thing that you learn in college, is that people have different communication skills. That was something that I've never experienced before. And I've lived with someone my whole life. So me and my sister shared a room my whole living in New York, my growing up experience. And so I consider myself to be a very good person in a shared space. I know how to work in a shared area. And so for people not to understand that is frustrating. I'm not saying that you don't, but that's just something that like you have to go through and figure out the learning curve of that. But it's doable. Everyone does it.
Honestly, yes, roommates in college, but you're going to carry that with you wherever you go. Like you need to communicate without yelling, raising your voice, and living with your family, because I also shared a room my whole life, is very different than living with a partner, especially when your family communicates differently. I would say my family's very dramatic and passionate is the word I would like to use. However, my boyfriend would say maybe that I come off a little blunt and aggressive sometimes, because my family, that's how we communicated. So you have to learn to be versatile with your communication and realize sometimes you may be coming off differently than it appears to someone else. So that's totally something that you learn in college and you'll carry throughout your whole life.
Being able to stand your ground with your own personal views and values, no matter how close you are to a person. Like I have one example, like person in particular in mind who doesn't share similar values as I do in certain things. And I was trying to push for that like friendship really hard. When at the end of the day, like we're just too different of people. And I think it wasn't, don't look at me. I'll say his name, but you have to bleep me out.
I know who you're talking about.
I don't think you do.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. We're talking about the same person. I think like that's like I can't. That's a really big learning experience, I think, and growing experience as a person, and realizing that your personal like morals and values are your personal morals and values for a reason, and to try and push something to fit that mold that you're looking for, even though they don't fit, is not something that is worth it, nor is ever going to work out, because it's just, you're too different of people and you come from two different like religions, backgrounds, whatever you want to put into your own scenario. But that would be my biggest advice for incoming freshmen, or like just starting your new chapter of life.
Definitely. I would say hold true to your values and who you are. And I think it's okay if someone's different than you. I don't think someone has to have the same values as you, as long as you can still communicate and get along and be friendly. But if you guys aren't able to come to that conclusion together, even if you do have different values or see life a little bit differently, it's okay to not be friends with them. You don't have to be friends with everyone. Not everyone has to be worth your time. So it's nice to surround yourself with people first, but sometimes you're not bread and butter. So that's okay to let them go too. So I love that advice.
Invite us back, please. This was so fun.
I had so much fun. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. I hope this helped you in your college journey. Make sure to subscribe if you are not already. Please rate the podcast 5 stars only. Let us know what you want to hear about next. As always, I'm Darian Alexis, and don't forget to survive and thrive.